And we are live. I am Adam. This is Saturday Nights Live. We don't do these often enough, but then again, there's not always an event as big as this. We've got a new wave. We've got the All-Star 6 wave. We're going to talk about the fan vote. We're going to talk about all the crazy reveals. We're going to discuss our favorites. And when I say we, you're going to have to wait and find out who's joining me. It's going to be a fun night. But I will, first of all, shout out Mike at eCollectibles. If you are a Canadian Mythic Legions or Cosmic Legions collector, ecollectibles.ca is your place to get Mythic and Cosmic Legions, as well as tons of other stuff. AWalk, all your Hasbro stuff. He's bringing in a lot of cool imports and stuff like that, too. Your Mecha Leos, your Mecha Michelangelo now as well. But you're not here for that. You're here to talk about Mythic Legions, and so are these guys. So I'm going to bring them on. Austin, what's going on, buddy?
Living the dream, spending my Saturday evening talking toys. No better way to spend it.
Right. Man, we're lame. Patty, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, guys. Happy to join, man. Happy to be talking Legions.
Absolutely. And our very, very special guest of honor, Honorary Knight of the North, Trevor.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, Honorary, I still need a hat, man. I still got to get a hat.
Oh, well, I'll get you one. I'll get you one for sure.
I want to wear it.
Yeah, remind me after. Send me your address because we'll definitely get you one.
That's good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Man, exciting times, right? Like this, I think this wave, the Necronomicon stuff, I think really hits pretty hard. Like, knights, skeletons, for a lot of people, I would argue probably the majority of people that are collecting Mythic Legions, knights and skellies are kind of their thing. I'm in the minority. I don't love knights and skeletons, but we'll discuss that too. Let's just jump right into it. We're going to start with the fan. We're going to go in order. We're going to start with the fan vote winners, and then we'll move into the reveals. We'll check in with the chat as well. I already know that there's a few people hanging out. Renato is here. Jeff Morris is hanging out. Patty is not only on screen but in the chat. Mick is hanging out as well, and Michael. If you're hanging out, let us know who we're talking at, because I'm always curious. Shang's hanging out. What's going on, Shang? I haven't spoken to you in a while.
Shang.
Anyways, first All-Star winner revealed on Monday, Clavian, the red skeleton. Thoughts on this? Did you guys vote for Clavian or?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I campaigned for Clavian.
Yeah.
Does this fit in with your red orcs?
Or
your passion for?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I guess maybe I think I got a red thing. I don't know. It's weird. Now Clavian's more just. I mean, honestly, all these I think the winners turned out to be, market value things for people who are longtime collectors, which is an interesting topic that everybody's been talking about. I think I've talked about this on 2 or 3 different shows at this point, but
yeah.
For me, this is one I didn't have. Now, unfortunately for me, all the other 3 I did have, and I just bought for ridiculous amounts of money. But this guy I just didn't, thankfully. So that's why I campaigned for him. Yeah, I'm happy though. All these things are very basic figures now comparatively.
Yeah.
And I get it why the people who are just coming into it, we were talking a little bit about this before, are just kind of like, meh. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're new to the line, the argument is basically kind of, if you're new to the line and you need all the figures, you really are just picking your favorite, right? Because whether it's $100 or $300, you don't have it. So getting it at retail is your goal. And so people will vote for figures that are their favorites. Whereas other people that have been in longer, if you got in at Advent of Decay, you're going to vote for things that came before that because those are the things that you didn't get. Right. So it is sort of this thing where, vote after vote after vote, the audience and sort of the voting community kind of shifts and changes. But by and large, I think I think this vote kind of proved it too. Like you said, Trevor, essentially, 4 of the most expensive figures were voted as the winners.
Yeah.
And as much as I think some of us would have liked to see different results than that, Balam, but it's it's a fan vote. It's sort of a democratic thing, and you can't really be upset, one way or the other. I mean, it's a popular vote, so whatever wins, and that's how it works.
Well, apparently you can be upset. I mean, and you can post your
well
how upset you are in the
there's
cabal.
Been plenty of offense taken today in Mythic Legions. We'll get to that. I even made the joke today that how recently we thought Blue Dubon was a scandal.
Oh, and now... can we not?
And you were right at the center of that. So that's
freaking blue, man. He's blue. I mean,
he's blue. He's blue enough. I mean, I don't know.
It's a blue. It's a gray blue. It's a gray blue or a blue gray.
It's a great looking figure, regardless.
Yeah.
Clavian, not for me. But not everything has to be for everybody. So that's that one. Next up was both our Shadowhorn, a named dwarf. The dwarf guys have been banging this drum for so long that they wanted more dwarfs to get in, more named dwarfs.
And they got together.
What's that?
Yeah. And they got together.
Yeah, they got together. Absolutely. And they did, they kind of, of all the groups, I think that's probably the group that's the most united, I would say. But this is, a basic figure, but great deco. It's certainly a cool figure. Whoa, what's going on there? Short in stature, but large in charm. The dwarves. So, Austin, what do you think about both are?
He was one of the ones I voted for. Even when I was voting for him, I even thought compared to figures nowadays, he's not horribly impressive. But I love the story with the dwarves. It seems it's so political. Like I love that. I love how they're all distant cousins or even half brothers. I love it. I'm very happy he won. I'll get him. But yeah, in terms of actual figure, I don't think he's anything special. But as a character, I'm quite happy.
Patty, do you have both? I think you wanted Bromden.
I wanted Bromden. I was kind of, I don't want to say crushed, but I was definitely like, of the dramas of the week, I was like, that hurt a little. I wish I got Bromden, but I'm playing the long game, so there will be more All-Stars. And if I had to lose, I mean, both are like, it's not a big loss. Like, that's one that I definitely want. So I'm not upset about it at all.
Bromden is a great figure, though. Bromden is, I have to say, he's got, because of the parts, like it's I'm surprised. But again, I think it comes down to all the, they literally took votes in the dwarf group.
Yeah.
To vote on who we're gonna vote on, like as a pack, they got together. It was like, it was incredible. It was beautiful, beautiful to witness. So it is what it is.
Well, and that's the thing, right? And Pat, you mentioned it, that this is if you're playing the long game, we will probably get another shot at all the ones that we didn't get this time around, and as we sort of cycle through, the Clavians and the Bothars and the Gorthoks, we'll get back around to these ones that some of us have missed and some of us want. And I think it's kind of one of those things where eventually, well, fingers crossed, they could all, come back as All-Stars. And it's just a matter of time, and it's just a matter of, how much history is there between the one that you want and sort of the last winning wave, right? Like these are, I think Clavian was the last figure from the first Kickstarter to be with the exception of named characters that they said are not going to be in All-Star.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
I think somebody mentioned that. I don't know. I didn't fact check that, but I mean, it sounds cool.
They have said that they, you know, and Jeremy just said this recently too, that they don't really love doing the All-Stars. I mean, they enjoy the fun and everybody, you know, campaigning and stuff like that. But for them, in terms of like just putting these out there, you know, it's not as much fun as, you know, doing new figures.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, a lot of extra work on top of doing a new wave. So I don't know, man. I mean, we might, you know, somebody said, well, they probably would tell us if this was the last one. Maybe not. So I think there's probably maybe at least one more after that. I don't know. And I don't know what that means for getting any other older figures. You know what I mean? I'm not really sure. It may just be, listen, we're going to do 2.0s of some of the major characters and version 2s. Sorry, not 2.0s, but version 2s.
Yeah, that gets confusing.
That's it. You know what I mean? Like that or the secondary market. So I don't know. I hope not.
I love what they did with Attila. Like, and this does not make the version 1 any less amazing. It does not, but version 2 is its own beast, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So if they do that for a couple of other key characters,
I think anybody, unless you're a total completist, and I think what most people want is like they want, you know, the head of Laodicea on the shelf. You know what I mean? They don't want that hole. So like, you're not going to go out and spend $250. Give me this. This is great. I don't need the old one. You know what I mean? I have the old one, but I like the old one, but you don't need it unless you're a completist, unless you're going to be like that. So I think there's a lot of characters like that they will likely do. No inside information. But,
I mean, I think there's always going to be exceptions too, right? Like that version 2 of Vorgus Vermilius looks absolutely amazing, and that cape, like
sick, man.
That cape is its own character. Like
it's got its own zip code, man. It's like it's freaking huge.
There's like 8 feet of wire in that thing. Like you can pose you can pose that thing better than a lot of figures. But that version 1 of Vorgus with that blood-stained deco, which is an easy repaint for an amateur even, because it's kind of sloppy paint job,
dip it in black and wipes them off, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still, you know, there's still a lot of charm in that figure, and there's definitely figures in the line like that. Gorthok for me is one of those, right? Like this one, to me, Gorthok is not an easy paint job to just bang a couple of these out. And certainly not to do it well. Of the 4, this was the only one that I actually voted for. But here's the thing, you know, in the discussion of like, do we still need All-Stars? I'm still looking at Gorthok and being like, do I need Gorthok, or do I need like an extra of the new figures? You know, like there's that balancing act of space and funds and all that kind of stuff that comes into play. And when you look at, you know, well, Red Skeleton aside, you know, Bothar is a great looking figure, but you know, are there better dwarves available? You know, you look at that skeleton dwarf now and you're like, well, I mean, that's
and it's availability too. I mean, all of these will probably be for a while available, but these tend to be around for a while. You know, you can get a Scaphoid. Scaphoid. No, not Scaphoid. Yeah. Well, yeah, okay, so Scaphoid, yes, is one of them. You can get a Scaphoid anywhere now for, you know, not much over maybe $50, $45, $50 out there, you know, on the secondary, because there were just a lot of them.
Yeah.
And now there's been 2 rounds of them, so they're easy to get, you know. So, yeah, if anything, you skip anything, I would skip one of these if you had to, you know what I mean? Because you'll be able to pick it up later on. Yeah.
I mean, the exception to that, well, at least for me personally, as a guy that's not even into Knights and Skeletons, but the deco, again, deco wise, this thing is stunning. I've never seen one in person, but even the pictures, you know, the pearlescent sort of finish to the figure.
Are you saying the pictures do it justice, Adam? Is that what you're saying?
You know, what I would say is that these new pictures definitely pull out the pearlescence a lot more.
Yeah, you can see it.
The original ones.
It's beautiful. This paint job would be incredibly hard, if not impossible, to reproduce. It's really, really cool.
Is it? Yeah, I mean, it's pearlescent. So there's like a it's like a, well, it looks like a pearl. I mean, it's even pearl in color, right? So there's
it's like I mean, it's like it's got depth to it. You know what I mean? Like there's layers to the color. It's really, really cool.
And just like Clavian, you know, this is a unique shield, I believe.
I think actually, oh yeah, it is a unique shield. I think Sir Owain was the inverted colors.
Color-wise, it's unique. So I mean, it's got that going for it. You know, Order of Aetheron, so it's got that going for it, I think, as well, because we're sort of with the Necronominous wave and then this All-Star 6 wave, sort of going further with the Aetheron faction. I think the timing was kind of perfect for this figure.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Oh, very nice.
Very, very nice. Very nice.
He'll look cool next to Sir Uxjack too. Like it's not. Uxjack isn't pearl, but like it's the same kind of color scheme, so it's going to be
absolutely, absolutely, and that's, you know, I'm just gonna pull this down, and we'll just have a little chat about the winners, and then we'll move on to the new stuff. Yeah, I mean, that pearlescent paint next to some of the figures. Aetheron's got a cool thing going, I think, or at least for me personally, who doesn't absolutely love knights, that there's a theme, but they're not all the same. You know, you get Ignatius in his pearly whites, you get some gold, you get, you know, some darker ones. We'll see in the reveals with Sir Andrew. Quite a departure from sort of most of the Aetheron figures. Yeah. Yeah, overall thoughts on the winners. Do we want to discuss any more about sort of the all-stars in general? Like, Trevor, you're kind of suggesting that, you know, do we still need it? Like, we've got all the things from the original Kickstarter. We were talking about this a little bit, you know, before we went live as well, that, you know, the all-star waves seem to be kind of catching up to the more current stuff. Now there is, you know, new people coming in all the time. There's people that maybe missed a figure or passed on a figure and sort of regret it. But I think we're getting to the point where, you know, as we've said with the, you know, the All-Stars 4 and the All-Stars 5 figures, availability is becoming less of an issue. So, you know, aftermarket prices seem to be coming down on more recent stuff. There is still, you know, a bit of a late fee, but yeah, all that being equal, it's certainly nothing compared to anything, I would say, like pre-Advent of Decay. Advent of Decay seems to be kind of the point where, and there's a few exceptions even in Advent of Decay, but, you know, 100 to 150 for a figure that's 5 or 6 years old now. It's not that terrible.
Even Siege of Bjorngar, which is soon after that, like some of those were not the trolls so much, but now we have some of those things. We have orcs now, so you don't really need that orc builder unless you're completist again. You know what I mean? So the thing is, like, again, we're gonna be hitting this in, like, you know, 3 or 4 years. You know, whoever willing that they're still doing these people now I can't even get 2.0 of Attila because now it's Attila 2.0 is, you know, $200 on the aftermarket. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a never-ending catch-up for people who are new. Unfortunately, I mean, you're just going to have to face the fact that you may not, unless you want to, you know, sell everything else you have or whatever, go back and get everything from the beginning. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? Well, if you got the money, you can, but it's tough, man. I'm still 7 short, and it's taken me years, and I'm bargain hunting for these things too.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Like, I have a short list of figures that I would buy if I saw them at the right price. But the right price is below what the market value is for me, because at the end of the day, I don't need them. You know, there's so much stuff coming down the pipe that, you know, I don't even know where I'm going to put it all as is. Going back to get, you know, old figures and going back to get, you know, version 1s of things that are now version 2s and so on and so forth. It's almost to the point where, like, have we almost hit the threshold of like a critical mass where, like, if you're getting in now, do you just don't even assume you're ever going to have a complete set? You know what I mean?
I mean, money wise, I mean, if you've got the money, you can do it. But it's like, if you're an average collector, I think that's, I see a lot of people saying that, oh, I'd love to get into Mythic Legions, but there's no way I'm going to be able to go back and get them all. Now, I don't know why that's your instant mentality, unless you just are a born completist and, like, everything you get, you have to have everything. You could just jump into it now and get some great looking figures and have fun with them and put them on the shelves. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe we have. I don't know if we've. I don't know. We're going back to, you know, like you said, Arethyr now, and people want those. But you can't. The heyday of, like, even getting, like, trade bait by buying a few extras of the whatever. Yeah. Because everybody's doing that. You know what I mean? Yeah, every retailer's doing that. Every eBay scalper, quote unquote, is doing that, and even regular people are doing that. So even, like, oh, I got an extra Magnus as trade bait, that might be the last wave that you could actually do that with, to some degree. I don't know, maybe it'll just continue. Maybe in 3 years would be like, oh my god, I can't afford that, you know, Alithia, you know, forget about it, it's $300. I don't know. I don't think so. I think there's just more of them out there because there's more people collecting them. They're producing more, as they said the other night. That's why they can keep the prices low. So the more that's out there, you know, the less demand there is for it. So
Alec McLaughlin, as someone that just got back into the line last year, between the insane prices and the increased quality of new waves, I can't justify going after old figures.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's and then, I mean, you kind of couple that with the fact that, like, All Stars means that anything is potentially game to come back. You know, one of my top 3 favorite figures, the Elf Ranger, I still don't have, because I keep thinking it'll get into an All-Star wave, or it'll get into, like, a reinforcements wave, or it'll be something. But who knows? I mean, maybe I'll just never have that figure for that very reason, because I'm just too patient, right? But
but don't you think that they could go back to, like, throw that elf into a builder wave at a certain point? Like, I don't know. I don't think that it's outrageous to think that it might not be in the. Was it when it was? I think it was the regular builder wave that was supposed to be evergreen. Like, it seems to me that
reinforcements.
Thank you.
Reinforcements. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't think that it's necessarily crazy to think that you could have reinforcements with, like, Elf Ranger. Elf Ranger seems to me to be kind of a ubiquitous character, or that you'd want to army build, or at least have a few to make a squadron out of.
You might get one that's got less deco on it than that, because usually the name character, if it's going to be a reinforcement. Yeah, I mean, we just got the Elf Builder, and you can't build that guy. I mean, because, again, I don't know, they're going to want to do new stuff. You know what I mean? All the time. So going backwards is just not something they want to do. And honestly, if you're getting into it now, from Arethyr on, I would say things jumped up, you know what I mean, in terms of quality and interesting pieces and less reuse, you know, from the first few waves, you know, that we're seeing. So I think it's a great time to get into it, you know.
Well, I mean, a few years. You know, the figures that we got revealed yesterday, I mean, there's figures that we don't have any of the parts from them yet. You know what I mean? Like, they're you know, they may be in, you know, the Poxus wave or the Necronominus wave parts wise,
but we don't have them.
But we don't have them in hand yet. So so they're effectively, you know, brand new figures.
Right.
Facebook user says, when I started collecting, I ended up getting a Vorgus within the first 3 or 4 figures. Sometimes you just see a character or style and want it. Sir Ignatius was one I wanted, but not at $500 Canadian. So it coming back as an all-star is awesome.
Cool. Nice.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's the thing, is that, like, you know, not every one of these figures is going to please everybody, but you know, it's just really cool that we have the option even to get them. So
I think regardless of how great the current figures are, everyone has at least that one character from 1.0 or Shadows of the Covenant, whatever. But it's like, it doesn't matter. I want that figure.
yeah.
For me, that was there was 3. It was Vorgus, Azar, and Zazar. Now, happy to say, you know, because of All-Star releases, I got all 3. That's awesome. But even if Vorgus 2 wasn't going to happen and there was no reissue of Vorgus 1, it's one of the few figures I would have paid a lot of money for, just regardless. But again, to do that for every single figure...
Yeah, can you imagine if you were like jumping in now and you were like, I'm going to get a complete set of these figures? I wonder what the total like value, like market value is if you had to get in now.
It's up there, that's for sure.
I mean, with figures
that's an interesting thought. That's an interesting that's interesting.
Right? Because there's like
that might be fun to figure out. I mean, it's going to be torture to try and find them all, but like it would be interesting to figure out what the average price is for.
Also, in this example, like, are you financing it by selling other things? And if so, what collection or what treasured love of yours are you gonna like sacrifice at the altar of this? You know what I mean? Like, it'd be tough.
It'd be very tough.
Oh yeah, for sure. But you see people doing it. There was a guy that posted in the Cabal over the last couple of days. He picked up like 60 figures, and they're all older figures. Well, not all.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some like big Grail type figures in those pictures. I mean, who knows?
Well, if you can swing like a big amount, that's the way to go. Like if you can do it, if you've you know, saved up a few $1,000s and somebody's selling like a bunch of them and
a
like
collection,
they just want to get rid of them, that's the way to go. Because when people are trying to get rid of a lot of stuff, they're generally like, I need to get rid of it. I'm getting out of it, whatever it is. And you can get some good deals there, but you got to shell out, you know, $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 for it. So.
But
per piece, it's good.
You're almost better off starting with nothing and sort of doing it that way than trying to go one at a time, sort of over time, because they just get more and more elusive, you know, day after day after month after year kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing about this line is there's so much to it. There's some figures I even forgot existed. Like, I think it was just yesterday I went, oh my God, the bird wave. There's all the birds.
See, the birds I don't count in my collection. I don't collect the birds, but the birds are, I mean, I don't know. I've heard talk that the birds, they're in Mythic Legions because they were under the Mythic Legions banner, but I think they want to like kind of like separate them out and say
they're not canon.
Yeah, well, kind of not canon.
Yeah.
Well, Aetheron, but he's a great beast, so that's a different story. Yeah.
I'm looking for that psychopath, but you know, it's like, I got all the Mythic Legions figures. Now they get Gothotropolis. And...
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Yeah, it's like, well, I've got everything now. I may as well go backwards and get everything now. Somebody had like one of the Gothotropolis Minotaurs, a test shot on eBay, and it was something like $16,000 or something like
crazy.
That. Nuts, man.
I mean, I guess you've got to, if you're putting it on eBay, you got to put a price out there.
Sure.
Sure. I mean, you may as well. Somebody might bite, you know.
I was about to say, a lot of people go like, oh, you base it on eBay sold listings. Well, you're not going to find an eBay sold listing for that. So
not for that. I don't know what you base that on.
And see what happens.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's jump into the new stuff, because we're you know, as cool as a lot of that old stuff is, I think the really exciting stuff was the new stuff. Absolutely. And the evening kicked off with the Skeleton Raider. So kind of an army builder for the skeletons. This is the congregation of Necronominus. Foot soldier, if you like. Just a simple stripped down, you know, full skeleton. He doesn't have the skeleton pelvis. So is it just a normal 1.0 crotch piece?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Just kind of just an average one. Yeah. Simple, but this is a it's not a complex figure, but just the way it's put together is so so smart, man. It's really, really cool. And I believe even the chess piece is like a removable chess piece. It's still got the, the ability to take that off and you could put on a piece of armor or something like that. I believe.
Wow.
I believe.
It's yeah, I think they said something about that. But this is, like you said, a super, super simple figure. But for the people that love skeletons and sort of love the Necronominous faction, they've been chomping at the bit for this thing. Every time there's a new troop builder type of army building type character, the skeleton guys are like, where's ours? And I think this is like the perfect execution of that.
Yeah, I love this thing. It's very Frazetta to me. I love the helmet is anyway. I love that.
Absolutely.
For Frazetta and Harryhausen, right? Everybody.
Well, yeah.
Whichever camp you're sort of in, as far as your
I always thought that the Storm collectible skeletons reminded me a little bit more of the Harryhausen. They're a little more fragile. They're a little more on the realistic skeleton shape size, but I like these guys for just the playability and the movability and the posability of them. Those things are a little tricky to balance sometimes. They're a little flimsy. But so I mean, skeleton wise, they're probably a little more realistic, but I love these. I think they ride the line perfectly between like playability and realism. So
the thing I absolutely love about this one is the 1.0 skeleton. I can see just a lot of pop and swap. Get a handful of those, get a handful of those. You can have 6 builders look totally different.
Absolutely, yeah. That head is going to look great on like a 1.0. Yeah. And I like the 2.0s too. I know I heard people saying today, like, "Oh, I wish this was like the 2.0." But I mean, realistically, to have that, to be a solid piece with swappable parts is going to be tricky for this much articulation. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe they could have done it, but I like these. I think they're a good compromise.
Joe Suter said, "I may have missed it earlier, but are the horns part of the helmet, not removable?"
That's a good question. That for me, when I get these are prototypes. These are all resin for the most part, and sometimes pieces like that are glued in. So I have to ask if they're removable, unless they come with different horns, which he doesn't. They may or may not be. I mean, they generally are, but there are occasions when they're not. So I don't know that answer, honestly.
He does come with an extra loin piece. He does come with an extra head. He does come with the different cuffs, extra hands too. I think that the extra hands are getting included is like kind of a game changer. But as far as the photographers, Austin, Trevor,
it's beautiful.
I think this is like, this just adds so much value.
It's a lot. Yeah.
In terms of what you can do, how you can sort of get them to sort of emote and express differently. The open hands, the fists, like all the different stuff. Even just the horizontal wrist versus the vertical wrists, like even such a simple thing like that, like how he can hold a spear or a staff or whatever, right? Like you just adds so much more dynamic posing to,
and more stable than like say a Mafex or an SH Figure Arts ball peg that that breaks all the time. You know what I mean? Like these are durable, and you got to swap them out if you want the horizontal or vertical. And the other great thing about it is, now that they're doing the sort of universal bone color, like you'll be able to swap these out between anything. You know what I mean? They may not match the 2.0s or the original 1.0s perfectly, but from now on, anything that comes out will have that bone color, which is cool.
Which is nice, because I mean, even you mentioned like figure arts, like even just like Super Saiyan this, Super Saiyan that, and you have 3 of the different characters in that form, but all their hair colors are different. It can be a little frustrating. Like it might be a little bit nitpicky, but like as a photographer, it's like
for sure.
It's frustrating.
For sure.
So to have even just like all the Necronominous wave and all of this wave be the same bone color, and for the pop and swap, it's a winner.
Oh yeah.
Alex McLaughlin, real question: how many of this guy and Sir Andrew are you all getting? I'm thinking 4. This guy and 3 Sir Andrew. We'll go through it. Do we want to go, like, as we do the figure? Do we want to go through it? Buy or not? How many? Maybe we'll do that too. Maybe we'll kick it off when we sort of for each figure. I'm not a skeleton guy, so I am not getting this guy yet, but who knows? I mean,
have you held or played with a skeleton, Adam? Have you
I've had a few.
Oh, okay.
I've had
Tibius, I know that. I think Scaphoid.
Yeah, I've had Malleus, Scaphoid, Tibius, and the 2.0 skeleton.
Okay. Keltis is what sold me on this line, man. I got a Keltis. I got 3 Keltises accidentally on one of the in-stock sales back in the day. Yeah. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. And I was like, oh, I didn't want 3 of this guy, and now I'm glad I got 3 of this guy.
What a terrible situation.
I miss him. I traded mine away. I traded him and Adam.
Oh no. Oh no.
I got a Razor Crest out of it.
Oh no, that's good. All right, no, you gotta do that, man. You gotta do that when it just is way out of, like, you're gaining a lot. You can always go back and find one. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But yeah, man, I opened that thing up and I was like, oh, this is it. This is my line, man. I love these things. I always wanted the Harryhausen skeletons. You know.
My thing with the skeletons is just, character wise, they're just not as fleshed out as I would like my characters.
Oh, pun intended.
But yeah, no, I don't. They're just, I like the elves. I like the orcs. I like the furries. I err on the sort of end of the spectrum that's more magical and whimsical, which is why knights and skeletons are, there's ones that are exceptions, and we'll get there, because I definitely, there are skeletons that I like. That Necronominus figure is like gorgeous, and there's one in this wave as well that I was like, that's a damn good looking action figure.
That's right. You're a Thistlethorn guy, right?
Oh, he's my number 1. Absolutely, that's my number 1. So that's and Balam is my number 3. So that's. So yeah, I mean, my preferences are a little bit different than the majority, I think, of Mythic Legions collectors. But this is one, like, honestly, when I saw this, I was like, people are going to be buying 3, 4, 10 of these. A lot. And I get it. Like, I completely understand why. This one, I don't know that people are going to, be buying 3, 4, 5 of. But Scally Bone Splitter, we finally get a dwarf skeleton that's actually a dwarf skeleton and not just perceived to be a dwarf skeleton. Initial thoughts on this, Patty?
I tend to fall in your camp more than not. I'm not really a skeleton guy.
Mm-hmm.
That said, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'd consider it. The skeletons that I'm going to end up going with, I'm going to have a small handful of sort of higher tier ones, and then probably not army build them out too much. This guy, it's so unique. I have a hard time saying no. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I'm still on the fence. I need to be sold a bit more.
The blue on this is gorgeous. I mean, I think that blue,
the color's great.
Yeah.
Those pauldrons are fantastic too, to have 2 of those now.
Yes. Yeah, because we got an asymmetrical sort of one-off in that gladiator in the Deluxe Legion Builder wave. And it was only a matter of time before we saw 2, right? So
how do you feel about his alternate heads? And the thing that's really awesome in this is the shield, I find. I don't know why, but I'm drawn to it a lot.
That dwarven shield, yeah. The alternate head, I think, is fantastic. Those blades that come out,
right?
Are that's
the shield was with Bromden too, right? Bromden.
It was.
Yeah.
The thing that actually has me the most excited is that war pick. I love that thing. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was just gonna say, like, what I like that they're doing, and I don't dislike some of the, like, with Thump, like the big hammer and stuff like that, but some of that stuff, like when it came with Hadriana, it just felt like a little. I mean, it is what it was, like, or it is what it was. Whatever,
it felt cartoony.
It's like, yeah. and a lot of the early weapons were, a little more like that, or just simplistic. And I really love that they're going into detail on some of these things, even painting the details, like the rings around the handle and things like that. And they're more realistically proportioned. You know what I mean? I'm really loving that.
It's I mean, this is a great one. And you get the skeleton guys, you get the dwarf guys. It's a named dwarf, fleshless, but I think most of the dwarf guys will probably take it regardless.
Oh yeah.
Well, deep down inside, aren't we all skeleton guys? Right? I mean,
there you go. Yeah.
That's as good as mine. Again, not on my like must buy list, but when this wave comes out and I pick up everything that I didn't pre-order, I'll probably be very excited to get this guy. Are you guys? Was this an instant buy, or is this wait for the review for you guys?
For me personally, I don't think any of them are wait for review. I think Mythic Legions is at the point where I just know it's going to be good. I know what I'm going to get, regardless if it's a new sculpt and new detail. But again, it's a classic case. I can't own everything. So I'm going to really pick and choose in this wave, and I can't say one way or another if he's in or not, because they're all winners. Like he is. I want to say yes, but I can't say with certainty.
Figures like this, right.
No, go ahead, Trevor. I was just going to say that Austin was absolutely right. These are all amazing figures.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, figures like this with it's a named character, and it's a unique thing. Like, not that you couldn't have 2 or 3, dead dwarves in your army. I would too, and I probably will end up doing it. But it's almost like I have a little bit of a thing where I want them. If I'm going to take any apart and make customs, I have to have the original one on the shelf. I'm not taking it apart
for sure.
And I want it like this, you know what I mean? Like as the character they envisioned on the shelf. And then, maybe have another one, put the alternate helmet on, maybe change out the pauldrons, whatever. But yeah, this is probably 3 for me, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think too, like if you want to lean into the dwarf skeleton too, you could get 2 or 3 of these and sort of swap parts with some of your other dwarf characters, and use the legs on one, use the arms on one, and like you said, have a little undead, skeleton gang, that from Vikenfell or whatever sort of location they put this guy from.
We'll get to the head pack, but there's gonna be so much skeleton stuff, so many parts.
Yeah.
Literally thigh bone connected to the, wrist bone. It's like you're gonna be able to create all sorts of stuff with these parts. So it's kind of just cool to have the parts to do it with. So which is why I probably get more.
You can have a skeleton zoo within a couple months here. Between all the animals and all the stuff.
I would love more animals.
I think with Belualith, those skulls are one of the animals is a 1.0 skull, correct? Am I remembering that right?
What do you mean, like with a ball on it? It's on a ball joint. Yeah, you could take it off and you could actually, I think, put it on a 1.0, or is it a 2.0? I don't remember.
Well, we'll find out. I mean, but the point being, if you're into skeletons, you're going to be spoiled for choice very, very soon. Because it's just, there's just so much stuff. And if you're a knight guy, you're also going to be spoiled for choice soon, because we're getting all these wild, I think they've kind of turned a corner in terms of like how they do knights as well. And these new knights, there isn't a bad one yet.
Yeah.
There isn't one that I haven't heard anybody kind of go like, yeah, but that one's not as good as the others. Like between the Necronominous wave and this wave, sort of is what I'm referring to specifically. They're so good. This guy is awesome. Sir Andrew, Joe Vassapolo designed this guy with the help of his son. The armor on this, you know, for anybody that that sort of wanted Galaron, I think there's a little bit of redemption by way of this figure, because I think it's fairly similar in color.
The color isn't quite Galaron, and it's not quite the gold. I think Joe mentioned the gold skeleton. He said it, but I don't have either one of those to compare it to.
Okay.
But I think it's somewhere in between. I don't think it's a perfect match for Galaron. It's close though. It's close.
This guy was an instant buy for me, for sure.
I love the bio. I mean, I read that bio and I thought that was a fun bio. I love when they bring other characters in as well. I like the kind of more world building involved with that. It's a cool backstory. Looks great.
Instant buy.
I think I can say with confidence he is one I will get. The biggest thing is, if I'm just looking at that picture, or like I'm kind of going, maybe that's really cool. I like the backside. That's really cool. But I'll point out when you get to it, because you're second.
I'll keep going then.
You'll keep going. The
sword.
And I love the fact he comes with that helmet too, because that's my favorite helmet. But the sword is just boom, done, deal. I'm in. And again, interchangeable hands. I see an open hand right there. That's awesome.
Yeah, and a pyromancer knight is a cool idea for a just to change things up a little bit too.
Yeah. Maybe they mentioned it and I totally missed it, but that blade also has a blue tint to it, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. Yep.
So it's like, I guess, it's not just that sword. It's they're doing more interesting things, like you said, Trevor, with the weapons, in terms of, kind of ramping up the paint deco and kind of really just, turning these up to 11, so to speak. Like just
that may be unique to him. I mean, because that's like a magical sword, that may be unique to him. One of those weapons that you can't get anywhere else, at least in that color. I mean, we've had that sword before, but not in that color.
Yeah.
I love the color palette. That's awesome.
Yeah. In the soft goods, you get the sort of the skirting bit, you get the cape that sort of drapes over the shoulders. Those winged pauldrons too, which we got with Adalric in the Necronominous wave. Like the detail on the armor, again, talk about just sort of ramping things up. Like they're just adding. We talked about all the all-star vote winners, the fan vote winners. And when you kind of look at that armor compared to this stuff, you kind of go, yeah, I mean, it was great for its time, but this stuff is wild. Like, they're increasing the range of motion. You get better articulation, more detail, different details, more ornate detail. Can't wait.
It's funny. I have such a better appreciation when the production figures come out. Like I have this. I've seen these. I've held them, whatever. But they are such a nightmare to deal with, and all these soft goods and all the pauldrons that don't really fit tightly. They don't pop in like your nice plastic pieces. They just kind of, you have to be tacked in, or they have to be held in, and the heaviness of the soft goods. I just want to throw it across the room. So like when it's like, oh, do you love this one? Yeah, kind of. It's all right. You know what I mean? But when I get it in hand, I get it in the box. It's like, oh, this is so cool. I know it's going to be cool. I just right now, he and I we have a little thing. We just like we need a little space.
So what you're saying is, the more elaborate the figure, the more you resent it by the time you send it back.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I marvel at the soft goods. Like every time I open one up and I see what CJ and Keithlin have done, I'm like, oh my god, this is great. And then my next thought is like, son of a bitch, this is never going to stay on, man.
But they seem to have found like the engineering of like how they're making these fit, like where they're putting little holes in things so that pegs can get through them and stuff like that. It's just like the attention to detail for the soft goods is baffling, considering they're still $37. Like what you get wave over wave keeps getting better. So like the production value keeps going up, the price doesn't, and everything else in the market does. It doesn't make sense, but I'm not complaining.
For $35, you used to get that little piece of, cut material with a couple of holes that sometimes were a little too close to the edge and would rip. And and now you're getting this for $2 more. 5 years later. That's insane.
And people will complain about the $2 increase from 10 years ago.
Well, yeah. I surprisingly, I didn't hear a lot of people call. It's more about the shipping, which I understand. But they can't do anything about that,
Yeah, I mean, that's
and they are actually trying to work on something. They are trying to actively make that a little bit better for for a lot of people. So
I think the shipping thing. I feel for them because shipping sucks, and and I think there's a misrepresentation of how big they are in terms of their shipping department,
true.
2 people.
Exactly.
Building. It's not even
a small company. Their product is taken off. Yeah, well, I mean, it is a warehouse, but I mean, there is limited space, and it's. I was just there for when, just before the last wave shipped, and all the tactic stuff, and it was wall to wall to the ceiling, man. It was nuts. There was so much stuff. So yeah, and it's a team of 3 or 4 people back there, and everybody pitching in when they need to. Not a big company. It's not a big company.
Yeah, no, and that's I mean, I think people have to really sort of respect the fact that as a small company, they're doing everything that they can, to give us great product, to not increase their prices, to
if they hired more people, you'd be paying $42 for them. So shut up and wait.
All the people that are kind of I've been waiting a week. Where's my figure? It's sort of okay, you can have your figure, but it's $50 now instead of $37. What do you want?
Right.
What do you want? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's what I told people on the Cabal. I'm like, listen, you can. How would it be better if your shipping was $5 and the figure cost you $40?
Yeah,
but, I mean, you know what I mean? Oh, now shipping's cheaper. But, come on.
For some of these complaints, do you think that it's maybe just the influx of new collectors that are maybe coming from different brands that are
Definitely.
not? Yeah, I mean, that's what I sort of... It's not to belittle any of the complaints. Everyone's entitled to an opinion, and as long as it's not, viciously mean in its presentation, I'm all for hearing it out, right? It's fine. But I notice a lot of those sort of complaints, it comes merely from a place of, hey, they're just new to this. They don't understand, or maybe it's sort of an adjustment period. If you're coming from, well, we won't pick on any specific other company, but let's just say something a little bit more mainstream, a little bit bigger, one of the big players in the game. If you're coming in from them, then yes, there is that sort of adjustment to be made when you're getting into 4 Horsemen stuff. But I assure you, be patient with it. It's so worth it for you.
Yeah.
You will be rewarded.
And it's usually less time than Mezco too. So,
Yeah.
I wasn't.
You don't have to wait 3 years.
Oh, sorry. Was that what you were talking about? Oh, okay. Sorry.
I think it's a bigger thing. I genuinely think that it's the world that we live in, Amazon exists. So that, although that's the exception, because it's so ubiquitous, it's become the standard. And it's unfortunately, that's not how the rest of the world works.
Yeah.
And so people think, well, Amazon can get it to me in less than 24 hours with 0 shipping. Why can't 4 Horsemen? And
your whole life is instant. Your whole life is instant. We are impatient people. And I guess having come into 1.6 and getting into customs and stuff, where when you're doing customs, it's like a person somewhere that's just running this thing and getting somebody in Korea to sew the thing, and it could take 2 years before you get this thing that you spent $200 or $300 on, man. And it's a patience game for sure. And I don't know. I'm okay. I don't, when it comes, it comes, and whatever. I don't know. This doesn't bother me. I don't need it right now. I want it, but I don't need it.
No. As a Canadian collector in Western Canada, and I order from eCollectibles, which is in Eastern Canada, he has to get it, and then he has to ship it to me. So when people order direct from 4 Horsemen, and they get it, within a week of it landing, but they still complained, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I'm gonna get it in a month still. And when I get it, I'm gonna absolutely love it. You know what I mean? It's gonna blow me away, and I'm gonna love that I have it. I don't know why I have to have it today or tomorrow. Like, I'll wait until it gets here because it'll be an amazing figure when it gets here, whenever it gets here.
Exactly.
Like, if
so
you
long,
have this
so long as it gets here.
If you have Sir Andrew in hand and you've had to wait an extra 30 days or the extra month, or probably a little bit less, but whatever, than anyone else, is it any less rewarding?
No.
I don't think so. I think it's fine. Like, you're getting a quality product that's going to just look amazing on a shelf and in posing and in photos and everything. So to me, it's worth it.
It's funny because I kind of fall on the side of a little bit more impatient, just because I think
you're young.
Good point. No, from the photography standpoint, I really enjoy being one of the first ones to show this stuff off with my posing.
Yes, there is that for sure. Yeah.
And that's the only reason. Like, otherwise, like, even them being West Coast Canada, even if I order direct from Four Horsemen, I am one of the last people to get the shipment direct from Four Horsemen. So not necessarily going to be one of the first photographers to have it anyways, but the extra 30 days can be a little, but I get it. Like, it is what it is in terms of saving money, being Canadian, like saving money on the shipping and taxes. The 30 days is worth it.
Yeah. Alex mentioned that I think Balam has swords that are painted blue as well. He does, but they're kind of a solid blue, whereas this looks like it has kind of like a tonal kind of shift from the inside of the blade to the outside. It looks to be a different color, which is what I was kind of suggesting about, like, they're the way they're painting them is more involved, more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the armor too, right? The detail work in terms of the paint work on the armor.
And it's amazing that I've said this before. Like, again, I can't. I get these in hand, and I look at them, and I'm like, how are they gonna get the factory to reproduce this? And they do, man. It comes out. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. You know what I mean? Which is amazing. I'm
constantly shocked when I see paint masters. That like. Basically, a professional painter is sitting in their creative studio painting these figures, and then that gets sent off to a factory, and some factory workers like, I can do this, and you're like, what? How does that? Like, we got techniques, we got things. There's machines. I got a tampo.
Yeah, there are dyes, there are tampos. Yeah, I mean, there's things to do to make it faster, but it's still incredible, the precision and stuff, because there are a lot of toy lines that we all know. That are, you get sloppy paint jobs all the time, you know what I mean, who have a lot more money than these guys do, and probably have more pull with factories and things too. So Chris does a great job, man, keeping these guys honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as far as, we were talking about, getting these figures in hand and how much we enjoy them in hand. Trevor, I know you do a lot of custom stuff, but I know that everybody that's doing Mythic Legions does pop and swaps. I don't know that there's anybody that I've ever spoken to that hasn't popped and swapped a figure, or at least kind of customized. To that extent, this is one of my favorite items from the wave, the belt packs. I'm getting a black one and a brown one. They're super affordable. I think it's like $12 for each, which is like, it's peanuts. I mean, the versatility.
$2 a belt.
It's $2 a belt. Yeah. Is it even that? Because isn't there like 7?
No, less than $2. Yeah, it's like $1.80 or something.
7 belts. Like that. 7 belts per. So for less, well, depending on where you get your coffee, for significantly less than a cup of coffee per belt.
Which is an odd comparison, but like to tell anybody outside this group right here that hey, you can get a tiny belt for the price of a cup of coffee, and like, I'd rather have the coffee, honestly.
And then we got the bone wings as well. And again, I think these are like I wrote it down here. Was it $15 for the bone wings? Like they're cheaper than I think wings typically are. So and these are the Necronominous bone wings. These aren't the old ones. These are bigger and wider and more articulated than the previous version. And then like we mentioned before as well. And maybe the most exciting of the accessory things that we're getting for most people. I mean, the belts are pretty amazing, but the Undead Heads pack. I did anybody speculate that we would see something like this?
No, I don't.
No, it wasn't on my radar at all.
Super surprised by it.
And you know, we get. I got to read it because I'll forget something for sure. You get the gorilla, the vampire, the orc, the lion, the wolf. Then you also get the two undead, zombie heads as well, and neck pegs to match as well. So you don't have to put them on an armored peg or something like that because you don't have the right color. This is awesome. Like this is the kind of thing that really kind of sets this line apart in terms of play value, and not everybody wants to call it play value, but like customizability or whatever you want to say. It's play value. But some with articulated jaws and stuff too. Like this is just really, really cool. I'm not a skeleton guy, so this head pack is probably not an instant buy for me, but I know that a lot of people, this is like, no brainer.
If you think about it, people were speculating, we're going to get a skeleton builder pack. If you think about it, between the hand pack in Necronominous and all the the Terpiculi and all the bone-based figures, you've gotten a builder pack for skeletons. I mean, like you can make any kind of skeleton you want.
And even from like
Terpiculi too.
Even from like a swapping perspective for setting up a scene and taking a photo, or even not even taking a photo, if you just want to set up your own diorama at home, have some skulls placed on the floor, right? Or,
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot you can do there, and I gotta point it out. Like I love the decapitated like neck stump.
Yeah,
like I can easily see one, put that on a figure, and they're holding their own head as one. Of the
hell yeah!
Head. Like, it's awesome.
Oh hell yeah!
I think in the Cabal, was it Will White that was like the stump? Like
the stump.
This is like this is the highlight of the wave. I know he was probably being facetious, but I mean, it is like I said, it's one of those things where like that's not something that you typically would get from another line.
No.
The opportunity to get all these pieces for customizing at the price, $30 for 7 heads and as well as the neck pegs. Again, it's just it's there's a lot there.
And articulated jaws on some of them too.
Yep,
which is awesome.
You're going to be paying $30 per if you're getting at least $30 per to get a custom painted 3D printed head. And very often the 3D printed stuff is a little more fragile, and the paint isn't factory paint either, so it's there's definitely a lot of value,
and the thing with this, like, buy it if there's like certain ones you want and certain ones you're just not going to use at all. You can turn around and sell each one of those for probably $10, man. You can make your money back by selling 3 of them, so it's worth it.
Joe Suter, do we know if those gauntlet bracers on Thrasis fit on a 2.0 wrist over the existing lower arm?
Well, I mean, because you're talking about going over a bracer, right? Like, what are we talking about? You talking about the skeletons? Skeleton 2.0
skeletons?
I believe so. Yeah, I would say yes. Yeah, I would say they would. No, those are armored too, though, right? They have gauntlets. They have gauntlets, so I don't know that they're gonna. Now, I think they're only gonna fit over like a skeleton lower arm, or lower arm. Because everything else has gauntlets. Even the 2.0s have gauntlets. So probably not going to fit over the gauntlet. I would say they're not big enough for that. I don't think.
Alberto says
They're
I
a little
expected a head
flexible
pack
though,
of some
so.
sort, but nothing like this. And Eddie says definitely getting that head pack.
Right there with you, Eddie. Absolutely.
Alberto says, between all the stuff that we've gotten, build a squad right there. Yeah, absolutely. You kind of take something from this, take something from that, take a couple pieces from one figure and swap them on another. And yeah, you could absolutely, build out your skeleton armies. I know Michael Casper is like over the moon for this sort of swappability for this wave. So, Alec McLaughlin, I'm 90% sure you can now make a skeleton Varg. You have a vampire head, skeleton torso. You've got, the dwarf,
the wings,
the skeleton dwarf. So yeah, you absolutely could. You
totally
have the wings,
can. I believe you totally can. Yep.
That's pretty cool. I think that's the first time that it's I've heard somebody mention that. But and Joe says, yeah, nothing else has a bare arm 2.0. He says, I'm just trying to over accessorize my 2.0s. Alec McLaughlin, what about the Alithia skeleton arms? Touche. Good point.
Yes.
That's a 2.0
and
which we haven't seen on a figure yet.
Oh, that's right.
The Motu. Arms.
Okiedos.
Yeah, with Okiedos.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Facebook user, I like that gorilla skull. They show
strongly agree.
Tuberculi plus, minus some parts plus the gorilla head, and you basically had a gorilla skeleton, which was pretty cool. Sapium, forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Those zombie heads are going to look good on cosmic figures for a dead space vibe. Yeah, I agree. And that's another thing too. A lot of this stuff, even if there's not necessarily something that you want to do in Mythic, you're now looking at a cosmic thing. And is there a race of people that just sort of look, gaunt and pale, and they don't have to be undead anymore. They could be an alien, right? So
yeah.
First thing I thought of,
man, space vampires.
I was thinking, I think it's the Tusk Sentry. It's one of them, anyways. That has like a clear dome head. I used to watch a lot of Doctor Who. For those who know, there's the episode, and like, hey, who turned off the lights? So it's just skeleton head and an astronaut outfit.
Scary one, man.
Yeah.
I thought that would be a really cool look. Of course, you can do that of any skeleton head, but these are just awesome.
The idea of Templars in space sort of has me in this moment. I'm like, could work.
Yeah, space Templars. Why not?
Speaking of Templars, the next one we got was Sir Enoch.
Oh man, I'm Adam. I'm right with you. I'm not sort of knights and skeletons are lower on my list, but this is the first slam dunk instant buy of the wave for me. Like, I'm super excited. That face sculpt, it's so Sean Connery, right? Like,
you have chosen wisely.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, he's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
It's a good looking figure. And I've said this before. For me, Templars are a little too, and I know that they're in Mythos. I know that these aren't the historical Templars, but they're still a little too rooted in a historical kind of vibe, even if it's not,
I always felt the same way.
So they don't do the same thing for me that, say, like Sir Ignatius does, right? Or when the knights are like really over the top and kind of fantastic, when they have shoulder pauldrons with big wings on them, for example, which would not be practical in any way. Those are the knights that I really like. When the knights have a jaguar head and purple armor, that's the kind of knight that I want. But there's no denying that, like, as you said, Patty, like, this is just a really, really great looking figure.
It's a slam dunk. It has to be, right? Like,
and the soft goods again, like for $37, there's
that's
$70
Mezco level
worth
soft
of
goods right there,
on
man.
this figure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then again, accessories like sword, dagger, club, hands, pauldrons, extra helmet, extra straps, and man, what are you not getting? What would you like? What more could you ask for?
And if you don't like Templars, like, there's going to be third-party clothing for this at this point too. You know, like, people will be creating new colors and things like that for the tabards and all that stuff. And I'm the same way, Adam. I always had not an issue, but I mean, I think when they started this line out, like, I think they wanted to get people on board, and it's like, it's a recognizable knight, you know what I mean? For most people. And I think it's still, I love the way they look. I kind of wish that, we're going to get to that later, but like, that they had something more that is grounded in Etheron or something like that, or just a different pattern. But I get it. I get why they started it out, and they worked it into the mythos. So it is what it is now. And this looks great. I love this thing, man. It's incredible.
And I mean, just sort of seeing people's reactions and hearing people's reactions. This is another one of those figures where I know multiple people who are buying multiples of this figure, because at that price point, I mean, you've got a spare head. So if you have two, you still don't have the same figure, right? Like,
I've said it several times, the soft goods alone on this thing, okay, if you were to buy them for, I love Max Bird, I love all the people who do the soft goods and stuff that resell. CJ himself, if you bought this back in the day when he was doing stuff to sell, he is still doing that stuff.
You're paying $37
this whole
just
outfit
for the soft goods.
would call you $90 just for this outfit. 90 at least, maybe $100 maybe $100. It's crazy, you know. I mean, those are small quantities, handmade, whatever, but it's crazy, man. This is as much soft goods as there is on your average Mezco, and that costs you $90, $100. You know, it's crazy.
And I'm again. This was not on my list of buys, and I'm talking myself into it now as well, because I'm just looking at it. And I'm like, I mean, there's so much.
You know, you could get it and you could sell it if you don't like it. So, like, you know, you turn around.
Well, I'm even looking at it like, okay, so as an Anglophile, I'm looking at that St. George's Cross shield, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of that's a cool accessory. And I know that there was one with was it Elijah that came with the other shaped one?
Yes,
but
the other one that Andrew has,
yeah. But then, you know, like, even just for the armor, right, with the extra hands, like, strip all the soft goods off. This is still an amazing figure, you know, for that price. That's what I'm saying too, is that, like, for $37, it used to be that just the figure, right, plus a couple accessories, and now, you know, you get all the soft goods, you get all the hands, you get an extra head, you get the list goes on, right? Like. It's hard to look at any one of these figures and say they're not worth buying. Now, whether you do or not, I mean, is up to the individual, but it's incredible value. Like, it's kind of ridiculous value, really, when you compare it to most other things. These are ridiculous value.
Yeah.
Even
I mean, it doesn't come with an NFT. It doesn't come with an NFT, but, you know. So is it that great? You know what I mean?
Touche.
I don't have any other Templars yet. He will be the one, and I will probably multiple buy. Like, you have to.
I have 5, so I'm already in.
You have 5. You're in. He's the star. He's the star for me. I don't know what to say. Like,
I've been pretty tame so far, going like, yeah, maybe I think he's in the list. I'll have to think about, like, yeah, he's in. Like, I'm getting him. He's definitely, if I have to narrow it down to 3,
yes,
he's in the top 3. He's not my number 1, but
so
he's
you're
in
buying
the top 3.
3 of them?
God.
Just kidding.
This mainly makes me want Delphina 2.0 more than anything.
Yes,
really. That would be cool.
With rooted hair, right? No, maybe not.
For $37.
For $37.
Where was it? Alec asked, can't you just remove the soft goods and have a normal Silver Knight? Yeah, and I wouldn't even say a normal Silver Knight. I would say it's a really good Silver Knight.
Yeah.
And now Baradatch says, just pop a Balam head and voila. I mean, we've gotten head packs, right? So I used to have the Black Panther. There's the Red Furious 4, Jagualian head. So that's definitely an option.
I would say to that question, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll pull this one back up. Or were you answering?
Yeah, I was trying to. I would say that these seem to me to be a little shinier than those. I mean, color of silver, yes, but I think they're a little shinier. So I think. It seemed to me anyway. I didn't really compare them, honestly.
When they posted, a few of the Templars up sort of next to each other, whether it was
they looked pretty close.
They looked close. They didn't look identical, but I think in a pinch. But you'll even find like when you get two of a figure, if one's from a different batch, you'll even find that there's sometimes slightly different shades.
Sometimes.
Because it's not easy to like bang out metallic sheen perfectly matched every time.
Right.
They do.
I think he is color matched to Elijah, as Satyam is saying. I think they're trying to do that. Like that the armor is matched now. Again, like the bones going forward.
Like the bone. Yeah.
But again, even back then, like armor was different. Like it was made out of different materials. It was treated differently. It was. So I mean. I don't think they have to match exactly, but
it's
close. It's very close. It'll look good on the shelf.
Darker, but it'll look they'll look stunning. And if you're worried, just buy multiples of both, and you can mix and match.
There you go.
So the answer.
Now, the controversial section of today's episode. What is a Templar without his mount? And we got Deacon, which was revealed yesterday and was updated this morning.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I was shooting this thing and it didn't, I'm looking at it next to the Knights and stuff. And again, I'm not like a big Templar guy, but I have some of the Max Bird stuff that has the comparison head piece. One of them is just a little piece that goes in the forehead and the other one is the one that goes over. It's a traditional, it's still used. It's not necessarily in white, but like, decorative, whatever. It's a traditional thing. It keeps flies off the horse or whatever it is. And there's plenty of pictures like that. So I didn't think twice about it. And when somebody brought it up, I'm like, okay. I mean, we're living in a day and age where this is what people look for. You know what I mean? There's going to be somebody that's, and maybe not even in like a vicious way, but somebody, there's always people just looking to like, can I get you on something? You know what I mean? So whether it was just at the top of somebody's head that they go, oh, that reminded me of this. And then it just, it became a thing. Jeremy messaged me this morning and we went through and did like some different mock-ups for, changing it up, changing even the color of the head piece to red or to black. None of it kind of got rid of this. And it's like, again, like you can fight the fight that, this is traditional, this is, again, like I was telling you before, they're not historical legions, they're mythic legions. So just because that is a Templar thing, Templars that exist in mythos are not the Templars that exist in our world. You know what I mean? So they don't have to be the same. And it's like, listen, the swastika used to mean a bunch of varied things to Native Americans. It had like, it meant log or it meant storm or something like that. But then it was co-opted by assholes. And, we said collectively as a society, no, that's not coming back. You're not using that for icons or anything. And it's the same with this. It's like, they looked at it and said, you know what? We're not, as a company, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like I said, this could blow up. somebody could get a hold of this and start tweeting about like, oh, this company's making, KKK horses. And then, what do? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So they did, I think, the best thing they could do. Yeah. I suggested armor to him this morning, and lo and behold, he told me like right then and there, he's like, they actually have been working on something like that. And so they have it here, like sculpted and ready to go, which is great. And I think it looks cool, man. I like the way it looks.
Yeah, I think it looks good. I think overall the reaction, at least in the Cabal and sort of in the Knights of the North, where I've sort of discussed this with people, I don't think anybody's disappointed with the change. I think there is a minority of people that
they're the Templar purists wanted it.
and the people that kind of want to die on the hill of I should be able to do whatever I want, but they're not running a company, right? They're not trying to run a profitable company.
And you only saw it yesterday and you're married to it already. So it's like, I gotta have it now. You showed it to me yesterday. I have to have it. Come on, get over it.
But as we discussed, I mean, if you want that, like there's third parties out there that will make, you can buy this one, and I'm sure there will be a third party that just does the hood, right? For
you
your
can
horse.
get that from Maxbird. You can get it already if you want it. You can get it, so you can have it. You can even get them that have the crosses on them. But the cross thing was like, I suggested a design that had the cross and the Aetheron eagle on it. It was a little busy, but it was quick. But I like honestly, I wish that the Aetheron symbol had been on everything from the beginning. Honestly, on the knights' chests and stuff like that, I think it would have been better. But again, like we were saying, I think when they started this out, they wanted something that was identifiable to people as, hey, it's knights. How cool! Let's get some knights. You know what I mean? So,
I think if they hadn't done Templars and they had just done a white knight with the red Aetheron on the chest and on the shield, then this wouldn't even be a discussion. But they did kind of start that way, and I guess there's, like you said, the sort of Templar purists, if you will, that really want that Templar thing. But like you said, these Templars are Templars in name. They are not. They are not a historical representation of anybody. No. Like they happen to have that name because it was convenient, I think, more than anything.
Yeah.
This horse design was no longer convenient, is what it comes down to. It was, we as we sort of discussed a little bit before we sort of went live, you're by making the change, they're picking the lesser of two offenses. Do you offend the purists, or do you offend, the greater population, I think? And it's sort of like,
it's a business decision.
This is the right business decision.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with it or not, this is the right business decision.
Yeah. I kind of draw parallels with this and like the hooded Cobra Commander.
It's the first thing
it's exactly what I said today on another. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hasbro's not doing that.
No. And I mean, there are people who are very angry about that.
Yeah.
And
me.
Look, I get it to a degree, but I mean, when the horse change,
there is a difference, though.
There is a difference. There is 100% a difference. I would say that the horse thing, I agree with you, Trevor. I didn't see it initially. The second the images and the comparisons were made, I'm like, yeah, well, I totally get it. The change is necessary. Mm-hmm. No anger there. If you need to dress it up, like you said, Max Bird can sort of replicate that for you if you are desperate for it. But at the end of the day, I asked myself, is this a better figure or a worse figure because of the change? And I think it's better. I mean, I love this design. I really, really like it. I think it's nice. Like, it's tight. It's cooler almost. Like, I don't know. I don't want to oversell it, but I think that the improvements to my way of thinking are better. It sort of builds up,
I personally like the armor more, and we're seeing an unpainted version. Like,
yes,
they could also nail the deco on this, and people could be like, why didn't we get this as the first offering?
And I mean,
that matching the knight is going to be great. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
We're talking about all the stuff you get with that knight, but then like to have it match the horse and so on, like it just, and you also get, you know, the wired soft good flag, right? And the alternate, you know, the toupee, as they like to call it. So you don't have to run the armor on it. And then you've got Balius too. So again, this is also an opportunity for a lot of people that missed Balius to pick up Balius.
Balius is going for $125 on the secondaries now. So
there's your all-star horse. The first horse to be made twice is Balius, which is, you know, maybe lost in the weeds a little bit over the last 24 hours, but it is what it is, I guess. So.
Can you address Albert's? Because I want to address that.
Yeah.
This is actually a look. This was another one that I just went to Google and I quickly Googled, you know, Templar horse was it comparison yeah, whatever. And this was one of the images that came up with the armor, and I actually put it out to him. That's why I said, hey, maybe just switch it out with an armored covering for the face. And he's like, well, we were actually working on something like that, so we may just do that. And it's not off. This was a look as well. Like, this was just a different battle look. I mean, the face covering is to keep like flies and stuff off the horse and things like that. And it was more decorative. This is battle ready. I mean, if you're talking about, you know, Mythic Legions, this is a horse ready for battle. You know what I mean? So it makes more sense logically. You know what I mean? So I like it. I think it looks good.
Yeah, I think it looks good too. I think too, like, just in terms of like a horse in the line, because this is Balius again, but now we get the armor. I mean, if you don't like, if you feel like there's a disconnect there, take the soft goods off and just run it with like an armored head, or, you know, take the armor off the head and just run it, you know, with the soft goods. Like, you still have options here. And I just don't know, like you said, Trevor, like, you know, they revealed it just over 24 hours ago. It's I don't know. I mean, you can't please everybody. We were saying that from the beginning, right? Not every figure is going to work for everybody. It's unfortunate that there's even a need for discussion about this, but
yeah.
Just throwing this out there, though, I find also it matches better with his stablemate Bishop.
Yes.
So the designs, I don't know, Adam, if you could bring up Bishop.
I already had it.
Perfect. Great minds, man. So yeah, there's sort of I don't know, what could we call it? Like, it fits in better. It's
I like the armor more than the hood.
Yeah. To me, it's just a better fit, a better cohesiveness on the display. I'm not saying this to apologize for it or to sell it to people who don't want it now because of the change. I get it. But for me personally, it looks like it fits in a bit more. Just my observation, just purely subjective.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think it fits into Mythos more with the armor than it did with the hood, personally. But, you know, everybody's entitled to their opinions. And
Trevor's point earlier, like, I just did a quick Google image search, like right now. I just said Templar horse, and you see both. You see the hood. There's a really cool one I see here with the armored head, but still the rest is cloth. Like, it still works.
Yeah, and Fortress Madamus says, I'm not so much bummed about the hood. I think the armor will look good, but I wish it still had the cross to match the Templars and the flag. I mean, I think, you know, we've kind of alluded to that too, and sort of mentioned that too, right? There's now you now have kind of Templars that have the cross, and Templars that will sort of, but they were always, you know, within the Aetheron faction. So, you know, it's not like we have another Templar horse that already has that. You know, the knights can still have it, and the horse can be a more Aetheron inspired horse.
And we've really never had that sort of Iron Cross looking thing. It was always been stripes across the entire body, or stripes across the entire shield, or stripes. When the banners came out, the banners were top to bottom, stripe across, stripe down, and the shields as well. it was different. You know what I mean? Like it just didn't. They didn't sit by themselves.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was a different thing. I think it's just because, unfortunately, assholes went and wanted to pretend that they were knights and did horrible things to people, and they ruined it. You know what I mean? So like, that it is what it is. But I think you got to get away. Like, I know the Templar people, they want them to kind of be Templars in their mind. And again, like you said, you can go out and go to Max Bird and you can get a Templar, more realistic Templar thing. But this is Mythos, and I think this is the way it should have been from the beginning. I'd love to see them go forward and kind of phase out the Templars, but like maybe even use those, for shields and stuff, the eagles. I love that. It makes more sense to me. But we've already gone down that line, and a lot of people collect it for that. So I get it. I get the
Nate Barch's sigils.
Yeah,
are awesome. So I'll take Nate Barch's sigil over 2 stripes of paint any day of the week.
Yeah, exactly.
Alec asks, will you be taking pictures once they complete the design? I presume.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm waiting for it. It should come.
Yeah.
Any day now. I'm sure they want new pictures. So.
Alberto says he's going to put a maple leaf on it anyway.
I was just going to say, for the Knights of the North, it's very Canadian flag. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, really. The little paint, that turned that into a maple leaf real easy.
Very quickly. Yeah, exactly. Albert says, I totally get the reason for the redesign. I just like the cohesive look of the fabric throughout. It reminded me of Parade of Regal Option. 100%. And I totally get where people are coming from, because it does feel like a little bit of a curveball, and it does feel like they're disconnected. I think what's really going to happen is when these do get released and people put them on their shelves and start taking pictures, and they have the shields, and the knight is mounted on the horse, and all, they're going to look awesome. I just think this is something that we're going to forget, just like Blue Dubin.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're just Dubon. Sorry.
One thing I would have loved to have seen, but I mean, again, like this would have been like start from scratch. Like the armor here is convenient because he already had it on the go.
Yeah.
But I would have liked the hood look, but instead of fabric hood, chainmail hood, like a coif for the horse. I think that would look really cool. But again, that would be a totally start from scratch kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think. Well, that's just it. I mean, this is. Now I want to know what this project was intended for. We'll probably see something.
Yeah, that too.
Again, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, on something. But it's good that they had it, and I think it's going to look really cool. And like you said, Adam, I think by the time this comes out, which is going to be at least a year from now, I think it'll blow over. I think if they had not done anything, I think it would not have gone away.
Yes,
and I think when it came out, it would have been all blown up again. And I just think this is a better way to go.
Just as a general reminder, as amazing as Trevor makes these look in his pictures, we all know that Legions look even better in hand.
Yeah.
So it's going to be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Should we move on?
Yeah.
I think we should move on.
We've beat this dead horse.
Should we move on? Good one.
Oh,
yes.
Baradatch. I don't know.
I'm saying Baradatch. I don't know, but Baradatch.
I think it's Baradatch, but
yeah,
Baradatch. Yeah.
It's definitely not Dubin. But yeah, okay. This guy is awesome, and I think Cornboy and Jeremy both said that this is like, without saying they have a favorite, they both kind of said this is my favorite, and I get it. I totally understand why.
This is my number one. So
number
amazing.
one.
I think this is this is I think this is the unanimous sort of. Everybody loves this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you guys chatted with anybody that said, yeah, that one not so much?
I mean,
Kelly, because he's weird.
Yeah, well, Kelly is weird. So
I showed my wife the images of this when it came out, and she is a begrudging partner of mine for the whole collecting thing. And even she, like as a non-fan, looked at it and it's like, this is amazing detail. How did they do this? It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, and I mean, like down to like all the. I mean, I don't want to blow it up too much because then it sort of loses the sort of overall grandeur of like how much is going on here. But that chest piece plus the collar plus the helmet, and then on the back too, like the collar has, you know, more skulls and more wings and more stuff. This is one horny dude though too. I mean, there is a lot of horns on that collar.
Yeah.
That you don't really notice at first, but like look at all these. I don't know if they're meant to be teeth. Like, is this a jaw? Or is
no,
it
it's just more of a the collar piece. There's a word for it and I can't think of it, but yeah, the helmet is inside there.
Yeah, well, you can see because the head is like turned in relation to sort of that sort of V of the collar piece.
I'm sure they'll be showing the helmet by itself. I mean, that's the first thing everybody, you know, we do these things. We take the pictures the way we take them, and we do the same thing every time. If there were two heads with this, we would have taken pictures of the heads with the accessories, but there weren't. So it was like, I want to see what it looks like. I mean, you'll see it. You'll see it. I mean, is that going to really determine whether or not you buy this beast?
No.
You know what I mean? No. It's like, it's insane looking. Who cares?
I find
you'll see it.
It's forcing me to reconsider one that I passed on previously, which is his twin sister.
Yeah.
You passed on Beluilith?
I did.
My God,
I did.
my
favorite. I told you it wasn't a skeleton guy.
But now he's a zombie.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm going back. I'm reconsidering, Trevor. I'm reconsidering.
She's my favorite from Necronominus.
It definitely has that effect, right? Like when every new wave comes out, you go, oh, that's like this one. Or that one would look great with this one.
Correct.
That I passed on, or that like maybe I didn't buy enough of. Or like, oh, that part, or that, you know, cape, or that head sculpt, or whatever. Like,
They got me good.
It's definitely a first world problem, but it's a good problem to have. It's just, you know, time doesn't necessarily allow us to go back and like make more money to sort of put towards this stuff. So is there like a purple hue to this? With the weapons it certainly looks that way.
Yep. The shield has the same one. Yep.
But the armor is kind of like a graphite, like a not quite black.
Like a shiny graphite. Graphite's a good, that's a good description of it. Yeah. What you see here is what you get. Yeah, it's really cool.
Like this thing.
He scared the hell out of me because all that little collar piece is it's all resin. So if he fell, those things were gonna break off like toothpicks, man. I was like scared to death.
And we were talking about Frazetta skeletons earlier. This is like Death Dealer Frazetta on steroids.
Yeah,
this is
totally.
It's amazing.
This is an 80s metal cover for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, and ogre scale, so just an absolute chonky boy for your shelf. I think too, like ogre scale, but like with the armor, there's like more substance there. Like there's more presence with the armored ogre scale. I think it's gonna look even bigger on the shelf than an ogre typically does, just in terms of how menacing it's gonna look.
Oh yeah, they definitely feel bigger. Yeah, they're just like chonky, man. They're
like the thing like,
crazy looking.
It gets me so excited is I kind of start making my own head canon here. So like take the 4 horsemen canon aside. I just look at Arazak from Pox's wave and like this is his bodyguard. Like I just look at that and go like he's the one that's always right behind him, and it's just that gets me so excited.
It reminds me of if you see an army of the dead, and coming behind it is like in Lord of the Rings, like like as Sauron came down with a sword and just did this, and 50 people went flying. You know what I mean? Like it's just like he's things aren't going so well. Bring in the tank, and he just comes in and starts wiping people out.
Yeah, he's not the fastest guy, but he's never going down. He's like you said, he's taking out all the fodder. He's just plowing through people.
Yeah, he's the mountain from Game of Thrones.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, the mountain. Totally.
I've heard
not the brightest bulb in the pack, but big dude.
Joe Suter said, "Didn't they say the armor was going for a witch's cauldron finish? That's cool. That's a good." Alberto says, "I'm that guy. Not my favorite, but I do appreciate it. Still getting it." But that's what I mean. I mean, it doesn't have to be your favorite, but I don't think anybody was like, "Oh, this is an easy pass." I think this figure is just. I've actually heard from a couple people that aren't necessarily Mythic Legions collectors that this one stood out to them. As a figure that they would buy. Just because of how nasty he looks.
I heard the same thing about Uxcheck when they showed him to a lot of people outside of Mythos who were like, wow, this dude looks amazing. And the two of these guys going at it is probably the first thing I'm going to shoot when he comes in.
Yeah, that'd be incredible.
I do not know. I mean, it was honestly, it's hard enough to keep him together. And this is the main look. So they usually have a main look and then they have an alt look. And if I can, I'll try and do an alt look with like a pose. But there's just this guy, I mean, every one of these pieces is so heavy, you know what I mean? Because it's all resin, solid resin. So just keeping the limbs together was a challenge as it was, you know what I mean? He couldn't hold that sword up. There's no way. Like I'd have to prop it up with a clip or something like that. And then whatever.
Who had that sword previously?
Arakagor.
Okay, yeah.
It is an Arakagor sword, yeah.
It's a Arakagor sword. It's a dragon, the shield from the half giant.
Yes, I noticed that.
But that sword is awesome, and that sword is like almost as big as a 2.0 figure.
Yeah,
it's huge. You don't realize it because the figure's so big.
If I had one complaint, is I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity to introduce different hands. Like I would love to see this guy with just a fist, like a closed fist.
I agree. I would love to have fists, and I would love to have some open hands as well. For these. But that honestly, the more they're doing these, I can see that in another.
Oh, for sure.
Again, no inside information, but like I could see I could see an ogre size hands pack coming out in the future.
Oh,
for sure.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's they did the accessory pack for the half giant was kind of the first time they've done. There's not that many ogres either, right? So that's the thing is that hand pack wise, especially if you're new to the line, there's been the half giant, but then before that, there hasn't been one for a few waves. So it's not as though, everybody has an ogre in their collection. Scale and size wise as well. Some people just don't buy the ogres because they just don't have room for them. Just like trolls, right? Like, and it's the same as trolls. Like once you get an ogre, just like once you get a troll, you realize why people kind of love them so much.
I think the more they do stuff like this, I think there would be more of a call because they listen to, obviously what people are asking for. And I just think that I don't know if there's been much of a call for different hand packs for, the ogre scale figures just because it's been like one white Caucasian dude and the green guys, you know what I mean? So, blue two for but which would be tough. I mean, then it's going to be tough to paint match. How many do you put out there who I guess if you have the ability to paint them, you can take care of it yourself. But now that they're having armored hands and things like that, I definitely would like to see that
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could err on the side of doing an armored set that even if it was on the Caucasian tone or the orc tone.
Correct,
a covered hand would still work, but then they don't all match either. So which do you match it to? Do you just kind of go with like a generic? I think we'll get them eventually. I think we all agree that like
they might do like brown and a black or something like that. Like they did with the belts, so that you could like match it to closely to the gauntlets that they have on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, they could do like kind of the leather finish that they've done hand packs of. So
right, so they're wearing a glove. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Last but certainly not least, I'm not a skeleton guy, but this was an instant buy for me.
Yeah.
Based
on what?
Well, almost entirely on everything other than the skeleton. the
story is
the soft goods, the flag, just kind of how unique it is and like what you get in cool there.
Mm-hmm.
The pauldrons, those are the Poxus pauldrons, with kind of that chain, coming out from underneath. But this, these 3D faction shields. Yeah. But this one in particular, like I didn't notice this until today when I was kind of looking really closely, but it has this kind of decayed, dried out finish to it, like dried out broken clay.
Yeah, like craquelure,
Yeah. And it's bigger than the shield. Like the 3D sigil part is like kind of overlaps the edge of the shield. Like I would have bought this for the shield alone, is what I'm saying. Because those 3D faction shields, I think are cool enough that, I would pay $37 for that shield. Beyond that, I mean, you get the cape, you get the sort of ripped and tattered and torn kind of skirting and sort of the I don't even know exactly what I'm looking at there, but it just looks awesome.
The weathering on it is so cool. I mean, this guy, somebody asked earlier what the most difficult one to shoot. This was him.
Yeah, I saved that
with all the layers. He was a huge pain in the ass. And the shield came like a couple of those spindly little legs. Those are going to be like flexible plastic when you get it, but they're resin. God. and they came broken when I got it, so that I had to glue them on. The little legs and wait for it to dry. Yeah, and then I was just waiting for it to fall again and break, because he can't even hold it up really. I had to hold it with an alligator clip and then just Photoshop out the alligator clip, because there's no way he could actually hold that up. It's too his arms just won't do it. But he was a pain, but he looks amazing, man. He's so cool looking. I love this.
The one thing I love is I don't think we've had an introduction of a faction leader in like ages, really. I always just assume, okay, it's Morguleth, right? She's the one in charge.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And all the other faction leaders that we've gone for are new are just 2.0 releases, like Artemis and Gideon. The fact that you introduced a new character and went, here's the leader, besides Necronominus himself, but I don't really count the gods as the faction leaders. Like, this is the guy in the trenches with the soldiers.
Right.
Like, again, I don't collect a whole lot of skeletons. But like, I don't collect a whole lot of Erethyr. I got some orcs, and I got Gorgo, the faction leader, to lead them. Same thing with the Odysseus. I got Attila to lead them. This is the leader. If you're going to really pick and choose, get the leader. He looks incredible.
Exactly. Yeah. I love the colors they picked. The orange, the green, the purple. They're just so like.
It's good contrast. It pops.
Yeah, they're good contrast, and they're just like, they're kind of those. They look gross together. You know what I mean? It's just it's just perfect for a dead character, and the weathering is awesome, man. I love the weathering on this. It looks so good, and the cuts and stuff in the chest to let some of the bone show through.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that in production. It's gonna be nuts.
How is his cape? I mean, I know that it's tattered and such, as it should be, But is there wiring in it?
There's wires down the side.
Okay,
and
perfect.
They end there. Yeah, so it's not
That's
full
enough.
wiring. Yeah, you can get a lot out of that. Yep,
that's enough for that specific type, like the sort of tattered thing. Like it's more than enough. You'll be able to manipulate it into a bunch of different poses.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's great.
Skeleton upper leg or armored upper leg?
Skeleton. Yeah, you could.
Skeleton.
Yeah, there was more to that the hero shot, but we had to like crop them all to the sort of the same size, so I cropped a little bit off of it. But yeah, when I did it, I was like, damn it, you're not gonna be able to see that leg. But yeah, I mean that's the problem with all the stuff that they're doing now with all these soft goods and things. That the first thing anybody says, especially the customizers, is, can we see what's underneath the clothing? So
yeah.
I don't want to be the person to do that because it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I would rather not send them back broken or have to put them back together before I send them back. So I let them do that at the studio. They can take them apart. They can show you what's underneath.
I think you also have to buy them a drink beforehand.
Yeah, which is tough, because I don't know what they drink. They don't really hold things down too well either.
They don't hold their liquor very well.
They don't. No, it gets all over the clothing.
End the stream now.
Joe said, is the belt new on him? I think it is. I think it's on a few figures in this wave, though.
Yes, I believe it is a new belt. Yeah.
That's the wave.
Wow, the wave.
It's such a good wave.
It really is, isn't it? Like it's
like the only argument I have is because of all these new releases. I feel like it takes the shine away from the all-star figures, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to cut back. I want to make an exception for this wave. I try to keep it to 3. It's probably going to be 5.
Just this one.
But I look at like, okay, what am I going to cut? And at the end of the day, I think it's all the all-star figures.
Yeah.
But that's not to say I can't get them later down the line. It's like it's just in terms of
you'll be
pre-orders. Fine. Yeah, like I'm still probably going to get them, but like if
when you're looking
at
one of those for $37 and you're looking at that you just saw for $37, it's
exactly.
That's part of it too that we didn't really mention, right? So you can get Clavian for $37, or you can get Thrasis for $37. And especially if you're new to the line, you're scratching your head like, what? I don't really get it. Like what?
Yeah.
That value proposition, right? Where we talked about, or Enoch, right? We talked about the soft goods alone being worth twice the price of what they're charging.
Yeah.
I think, so I wonder in some respects too, like the people that are like, oh, I wanted this to win the All-Stars. I wonder who's buying which figures. The people that are happy about who won the All-Stars are probably the market for the All-Stars to begin with. So there is a balance there as well, where I think it's probably for the best that the ones that win. Even though I want 2.0 figures, most people have those, or if they don't, like we said, they're relatively easy to get still, because they're all relatively new. They were much more plentiful than the first Kickstarter ones or whatever. But I mean, fantastic wave, tons of good figures. With all the stuff that we get with the new figures, you can also kind of upgrade the older ones now, right?
Good point.
Between the capes, between the soft goods, between the new parts that we're getting, the belts, head packs, you can add a little bit more character. You can add a little bit more, accessory wise, like Joe was saying, right? You can kind of build out some of these more basic figures, however you want. That's kind of the beauty of the line. Right?
If you want to replace all the belts on your old figures, don't do the math. It's scary actually. It's only $12, and there's 6 or 7 of them in there. But like if you've got 200 figures, it's a lot. It's a big number.
100%.
But I was saying yesterday on like this doesn't feel like, and they said that like this is not going to be like a leftover from Necronominous Wave, and it totally wasn't. Like I have a hard time like looking at both of them objectively and going, I don't know which one's better. There's a lot of good stuff here, man. You know what I mean? It's ultimately there was more in Necronominous, but this is a great wave, man. It's really so good.
Joe, that tattered green loin cloth piece is going to be good for some dead undead Silurian guard. Yeah, good call. A figure that we got recently where, we're getting that undead sort of builder pack coming up as well. So that's, again, you can start building out undead, squads of whatever faction, whatever race, we're going to get all those parts that you need. You already answered this, Trevor. Thrasis was the hardest one.
And thank you, Alec. Appreciate it. Yeah, he was the hardest.
Well, yeah, I mean, now, do you? This was my question to sort of, in addition to that. So now that we sort of wrap that up, we'll just do some sort of general chat, and then we'll kind of tie everything up. But my question to you, Trevor, was when the All-Star voting is happening. Did they send you like the 20 figures, or did you get Clavian like after the voting and they're like, okay, we need the pictures by tomorrow? Like we gotta post
there's a point where they know who's gonna win, you know what I mean? Like based on like the amount of people who have submitted, like, I mean, once voting dies down to just, a few dozen a day, it's like, well, nobody's gonna overtake this. So that's when they sent me Clavian. I had the other three, so I just shot them.
Oh, you could just shoot.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I have all the parts and everything organized, so I just, instead of having them send it to me, I just shot those. But I had to send Clavian back, unfortunately.
You're not that far away either, so the timeline of getting something to you and getting it back is probably not that much of a hassle. Facebook user said this, like when we first started in with the new stuff. Honestly, each reveal was a hit. I'm not big on collecting the mounts, but man, this may be my first all-in. Like I said, this wave hit hard. And like we said, this was not like the leftovers. This wasn't like, we have these extra figures to kind of throw at you. They're all great. Like I said, there's figures that I'm not 100% sold that I need them in my collection. But when I look at Baradatch and when I look at Thrasis, like those aren't figures that I needed until I saw them. And then I was like, man, these are fantastic. Like, just an all around great wave. There really is something for everybody in here because there's knights, skeletons, dwarves, orcs, accessory packs, mounts, no fuzzies, but there is a horse, I guess. So there is something
sort of fuzzy.
But final
fuzzy
thoughts?
Beards.
Fuzzy beards. Yeah,
there you go.
Final thoughts. We'll go sort of around. We'll start at Patty, Austin, and then Trevor. Overall impression of the wave.
All killer, just it's all killer.
All dead.
It's all dead. They might have made me a Bones and Knights guy. I mean, I came in with like one opinion of it, and as they were announced yesterday in the stream, like I'm warming to some of them. Like I said, Sir Enoch to me is just, how am I not gonna? It's not a question of like if I'm buying. It's a question of how many I'm going to get of him. I'm transfixed by him. I think he's amazing. The rest, I think after this chat, gentlemen, I'm gonna have to rethink what I'm gonna need. Let's put it that way. Pass it to Austin.
I think it is a tough time to be a choosy Mythic Legions collector. It is so hard to choose just a few. Like I sit here and go, I think at the end of the day, I am going to get everything, and I'm just going to try to space it out so I don't have to just invest all at once.
Yeah.
But but again, like if I already know I'm not, but if I were sticking to my 3-figure limit, I would actually be. I think I'd be like staying up some nights thinking about it. Go, okay, I'll get these 3. Oh no, I forgot about that guy. I gotta work him in somehow. Again, and it's also pretty wild to look at the All-Star winners and going, for me personally, they're the losers of the wave. Like, again, they're still great. Yeah. They're still worth getting, I feel. But like compared to the new stuff is just the bang for your buck is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that there's been. I'm trying to think back of some of the All-Stars where, you know, you always get a few figures around that All-Stars wave, and they've always been great figures, but I don't think they've outshined those figures in any other All-Star as much as they outshined them in this one. I think this was the one where you just went like, oh, yeah, I don't need those. You know what I mean?
I'll get the all-in, but those 4 All-Star, I mean, I'll get them because they're in there, but
I need Clavian. I will probably get one of each of the other ones, even though I have them, just to, I don't know, either put these back in the box or keep the whatever. I don't know, but I'll probably get one of each just because they're there. But yeah, it's a crazy good wave, man, and it's, you know, I would have a very hard time just picking a few of them. This would be a tough one. Yeah, this would be a tough one. And Skellies, man, once you go bone, I don't know what they're. I don't know where I'm going with that. There's nothing to rhyme with that. You never go home. I don't know, but they're awesome, man. Skellies are great.
You know what, and that's I'm not a skeleton guy as such, but when they are as good as some of the ones in this wave, I'm not opposed to them either. You know, the sort of Legion builder type one sort of has the least for me. But that being said, you know, the other one, the dwarf skeleton, I mean, it's just that's just a fun character. And like we said, you know, you could sort of use those parts and kind of move them around and sort of mix and match. And so there's a lot of value in that figure still too. And that blue, like I'm now at the point, I hate to say it, but I'm now at the point where like I am looking at figures for parts use. And that blue is just stunning on that figure.
It is.
But what am I going to pair it with? I don't know. That'll be that's a future problem. I'll figure that out when I get there. Alex said, I recently decided to stop collecting other lines like Marvel Legends, and this wave really makes me feel like that was a good choice.
Can I just follow it up by saying, Alec, you have chosen wisely.
I mean, I think a lot of us collectors are sort of in that same boat where, you know, I have a lot of, you know, Marvel Legends behind me. I haven't bought many in the last 2 years. And sort of what's on my display behind me is slowly changing. You know, as I get more Mythic Legions, more of my Marvel Legends come down. You know, AWOC is another one like that, where like these smaller brands with these a little bit more freedom in terms of creativity, what they're doing with their figures, are really starting to shine through. And as we've said, you know, the value in these figures, especially if you're in the States, you know, it's a no-brainer. For us up here in the Great White North, I still think the value is ridiculously skewed towards Mythic Legions at the price that we pay, because accessories, soft goods, sculpt, paint. I mean, I'll stop because really, tip to tail, they're just better. So,
yeah, I mean, resale, like it's hard to compare it. You know, Hasbro's got their you know, they have to pay licensing fees for Star Wars and Marvel, but G.I. Joe is theirs. You know what I mean? And those figures are very good. And you get a little more with those because I think that they own the IP and they don't have to pay as much. But, you know, you look at your average Marvel Legends figure and what you get that. They just came out with that 3-pack of 3 Spider-Man from, you know, No Way Home, and not much with them. other than like, a few removable web shooters and some web things and a couple of hands for $90. I think that set was or something like that.
You know what I mean? I canceled that pre-order.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like you look at that, you compare it to these, and again, they don't have to pay a licensing fee, Mythic Legions, but it's still, the value is incredible, man. And even for like resale, like, you know what I mean? Like you're saying, for value, like if you get sick of them, Marvel Legends, with very few exceptions, you're not even going to get back what you paid for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a few that are rare, but this you'll definitely at least get back what you pay for it. Most likely, if not more. So at the moment, that may not be true forever, but they're great value, man, and great company, great figures, fun. It's held people all the time.
Great fans. I mean, that's the other thing too that does go. We talked about some of the drama today, but I always think that people sort of make their comments even with the best intentions, and I think whether people agree with each other or otherwise, despite what people were kind of talking about, no one was mean. Like that was Mythic Legions collectors, by and large, make it easy to be a Mythic Legions collector, which is a huge bonus. And a lot of props to Walter and the other admins in the Cabal, and anybody that's sort of involved in sort of community building. Patty and I are admins in the Knights of the North.
I'm here too.
Austin's there too. But it's just, it's a good community to be a part of, and it's just a good, positive, encouraging community, and it's welcoming and on and on. It's just a good thing to collect. It's just a fun thing to collect. With very few exceptions. You might have the odd interaction here or there. There might be the odd figure that you don't absolutely love, but it's just good. It's just a good line. It's a feel-good thing to collect. So.
Oh yeah. Doesn't feel good on your wallet, but it's good.
Well, you can't win.
But what does? What does as a collector? Like there really is no winning there. You're losing all the time.
The Horsemen space it out, right? It's not like a Hasbro that will give you a date of release, you budget towards it, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, it's here today.
That happens a lot.
It's different. It's a different game. And it's not to put down those that enjoy the other. That's totally fine. But I wouldn't trade the experience with the Mythic Legions that I've had. And
on that point, I enjoy the not having to actually go to a store to hunt for anything. That you can't get. It's all there for you if you want it. You've got a month to figure out whether you want it or not. It's not like, oh, it's going to go for sale at 12 o'clock. Oh, it's gone at 12:01. like you're done. And now you're paying an extra $20 on the aftermarket.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Like,
it's
not to
kind
of
sale.
Crap on other companies.
Well,
but, it can be frustrating when something's goes up for even just pre-order or whatever, and you have an hour to think about it.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
With Mythic Legions, they're so readily available. Like, as Canadians, it doesn't make sense to go all in with 4 Horsemen. But then we have other retailers like eCollectibles, and we still have lots of time there. Like, there's time upon time upon time. And even when you decide not to pre-order anything, these things typically, nowadays anyways, don't sell out right away. So you still got more time after the release. And it's just... a lot of the stress is gone.
Yeah. I used to buy Mezco figures. Like, you put it in the cart, and then you check out, and then you go back to see what you bought. Because
and you're swearing because your credit card is wrong.
Yeah.
It's right.
Yeah. Well, we all used to be doing that on the Mythic Legions for the in stock sales. I remember those days before they switched over. That was a nightmare. But it's all good now, man. It's all nice and smooth.
I'll quickly add this, not to get into the whole discussion, but me and my brother got into Mythic Legions the same time as the Exodus sale, and we had no idea. What's happening?
It was in my cart. It's gone.
The Exodus was from your cart.
Yes,
it just wasn't there. It wasn't there when you refreshed. And...
Exactly right. Exactly.
Well, you got your window to pre-order these figures through the Four Horsemen. Otherwise, stay tuned to your retailer of choice. I think for Patty, Austin, and myself, that's eCollectibles.ca.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna order from them anyway because the shipping and duties and all that kind of stuff, it's a wash. Nobody believes us, but then they order from Four Horsemen and realize, oh, okay, that's the case. But yeah, get your orders in, or don't wait. Like we said, you've got time. There's no pressure. Watch this video a few more times. Watch a few other people's videos. Realize you need everything, and then go ahead and order everything. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you guys on. We should do this more often, I think, but it's time, right? Who has time for 2 hour long late night chats?
I gotta get you guys on the Legions Lounge too one of these days.
International fun.
Yeah, international specials. We've done one with the guys over in Europe, so we'll have to do it with you guys too.
Nice.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
That'd be great.
Cheers.
For all the guys and myself, thank you guys for joining us watching live. Please please subscribe. I very much appreciate it. If you don't like our opinions, hit the thumbs down. I won't be offended.
I will.
And if
hit
you
it twice.
Want to see more of these, hit that notification button. But yeah, thanks guys. Talk to you later. Bye bye.